Hey guys, it's Matt from Cars and Couches, and today we got a special episode because I'm with my best friend Nate, and he's been having a problem. He's got a 2016 Chevy Malibu. He had an issue with it, and I thought this is going to be great footage and content to share with you guys in case you guys ever experience the exact same problem. Nate, why don't you go ahead and tell them about what's going on here?
Sure. So it's a 2016 Malibu. I bought it off my work. It was a test vehicle. They had a robot driving it. They're doing some autonomous drive stuff. So they had modifications to the seat, the shifter, etc. I found out my power seat didn't work. Essentially, whenever I tried to move it forward, it'd only go forward on one side, not the other. And the official fix is to replace the entire seat base.
Expensive.
Which is a little bit expensive and time consuming because you got to take the entire seat out and reinstall it. So I did some troubleshooting. Turns out there's two shafts that go into a motor that drive the seat forward and back. One of the shafts had frayed and needed to basically be replaced. So instead of replacing the entire seat base, just to replace the one small shaft, I decided to attempt to fix the said shaft myself by buying some RC flex shaft and a coupler. And then also, this is the motor assembly, and doing some funny business with this in order to get the shafts attached and get it back in. So that's what we're going to attempt today.
Yeah, and actually the funny thing about this and like how we're actually going about doing this is there was one day when Nate was telling me and Zeb about this issue. We were in a Discord call and we were talking about it, and we pulled out like Microsoft Paint and just started drawing like ideas and like how are we going to fix this and stuff like that. And then, as Nate said, we've come up with the idea that we're going to essentially he got a flex cable with a square end. Wasn't big enough, so he JB welded it on the one square end because it was only 2.5 millimeters and it needed to be 3 millimeters. So he JB welded it, waited for it to cure, and then sanded it down. And then also, like he said, the funky business was
I snapped this bad boy when I was trying to fix it initially and put it back in. Snapped it. Gave myself a decent scar on my left hand. And so I put it back together with some brackets and some nuts and bolts here. And it actually works out great because you can kind of bend it, put it in, straighten it out, tighten it.
Yeah,
and,
luckily Nate is an engineer.
Install it. So yeah.
Then we also had to Dremel out some of the area in here because the coupler, we don't really have a lot of playroom because the distance from here to the other end is actually the width of the seat rails. So we actually had to Dremel out a lot in here just to be able to fit the coupler in there. But anyway, we're going to take you along our journey on us attempting to try to fix this so that the seat goes forward and back. And we're going to start that, and I'm going to switch to voiceover. All right, so as you can see here, we took these cutting pliers and cut the flex shaft into the size we need. We go and check to make sure that it fits inside the motor, and now the next step is to attach the coupler in there and make sure that it can rotate freely within the bracket. At this point, the next step is to just tighten it and make sure that the coupler is secured to that small end of the flex shaft. For reference, this is the problem with the seat. It won't go forward and back, but there's absolutely no problem with the reclination. So here's that frayed end of the shaft that was broken in between the seat rails that is going to go into one end of the coupler. And this shaft that you see over here is the one that is not frayed, not broken, that's okay, that's going to go into the other side of the motor. So this is our first time going and trying to put this bracket in between the seat rails. And we find out pretty early enough that we were having an issue when we were installing this. And the issue was that the coupler was actually too close and touching the seat rail. So this is the portion that was touching the seat rail right there. And we had like a millimeter or two of leeway between the coupler and the motor. So what we did is we just unscrewed it, loosened it, and then brought the coupler down as much as we can and as close as possible to the motor to just bias a millimeter or two. So now you can see how close that coupler is to the seat rail, but it gave us just enough space. So we go back and start trying to install it. Now that we know that it's going to fit, we go ahead and feed the good end through the bracket and just have it kind of prepped there and check to make sure that it's flexible enough that when it's time to install the other end that we can bend it and fit it into the motor. Now we're going to put the freight end into the coupler. And now that we have both sides are in between the seat rails, we can start by hand tightening what I like to call the NSB double S, or the Nate's split bracket support system right here. And now that we have these both hand tightened and the frayed end is in the coupler, we can now go ahead and place the good end of the shaft into this end of the motor. And as you can see, once we get in there, it fits perfectly and inside the bracket. Now that we have the good side in one end of the motor, and now we have the freight end inside the coupler and the portion that we cut to fit on the other side of the coupler, and all we have to do is go in and tighten it. What you notice is it's kind of difficult because we're using these vise grips and this bit to tighten it, which was kind of tedious, but nonetheless, we still get the job done, and you could see that it's secure and the coupler was rotating. Now we go back and do the final tightening on the NSB double S, and again with the vice grips. And to be honest, I don't even know why we used the vice grips. I think it's that we didn't have like a wrench, but nonetheless, we still got it done. When Nate gets to this side, he realizes that the nut is rotating freely, so that's where I come in with my back-breaking strenuous work and lend him my actual physical hand to finish the tightening over here. So now that we have all ends tight and secure, the last step that we have here is to reconnect electrical and make sure that the motor has power. After we get power, we realize that although the seat does move forward and back, it just makes this noise. And then we also go and test to make sure that when someone's sitting in there, it still moves forward and back. Hey guys, so as you've seen, we did get the fix. Well, actually, this was mainly Nate doing the work and then me just filming it for the footage and stuff like that. So good job, Nate. But the job was an overall success, except for the fact, and you saw it in the video, that the coupler was kind of rubbing up against the railing and stuff like that. I think it's still a good job.
It rattles a bit. Yeah, it might bug someone, but I'm the one driving it, so it's functional. It works. I can move the seat forward and back. I call it a success, and I didn't have to spend a lot of money and replace the entire seat. And no slippage with the cable and the coupler, just a little bit of noise. But I mean, like you said, I mean it's pretty it's not even that much louder than how it came when I got it, or what it would sound normally. Because all motors make noise. It's just a little more of a rattle. But I'll take it.
So I got a success.
Yes, sir. Good job.
Nice job, Nate. Hey, guys, if you guys like this video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and we hope to see you guys again soon. Love you guys.